What's up, kings and queens? Welcome back to Bad Habits Kingdom. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and for subscribing. Also for supporting us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. We love you guys so much. Even Apple. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It truly means a lot. I apologize about the delay. I know it's been a while since we did a video. We are going back at it with the Delphi case. There's a lot of big things popping up lately, right? With this case, everybody, including myself, we jump on it every time any kind of news breaks out. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but about a year ago, I did a video about Ron Logan. And me and my queen at the time were saying how, he's definitely a possibility. He definitely, it was his property. He was lying to the cops. And then Anthony Greeno was saying that the police actually cleared him. He never mentioned anything about a search warrant. Of course, he didn't know. None of us knew until recently. But apparently the cops actually never cleared him. They never cleared him. Now, that's one thing I've been getting a lot of emails about. Do I think Ron Logan is bridge guy? I am still going to say no. I know what the FBI report said about saying that they do believe he committed murder, but I think if Ron Logan committed this crime, they would have had enough evidence or enough information by now to pretty much prove it that he was the killer. Now, honestly, it did look like Ron Logan. The jacket, the pants, the height. For a long time, I thought he was definitely a big possibility. And then I was like, man, maybe not. They would have definitely caught him by now, somehow. And then I was thinking there was connections. I think it was his cousin that, went to prison and was into little girls or something like that. I can't really remember the details. But there was so much and so many different details about this case that we just don't know. Now, for the longest time, we've been hearing about Keegan Kline, right? For a couple months now. And honestly, since really the get-go, I never thought he was bridge guy. Now, when I saw the photo about his father, I was like, this one looks a little bit more bridge guy to me, I guess you could say. Now, of course, I could be wrong about this, but my guts is still telling me Tony Kline is bridge guy. That's what my gut is still telling me. I know the police haven't released a lot of information. I know that the podcast crew found this out. Murder Sheet podcast, I think it's called. They're the ones that got this information, so I want to give them props and give them a shout out. No free shout outs on Bad Habits Kingdom, but I will do a free shout out to Murder Sheet podcast. I think that's what it's called, if I can remember right. But anyway, I really said back in, I think it was January, that this case, no, it was February, it was around the anniversary, that this case would be solved before summertime. I think I said before June. Of course, I was wrong. It's June, and the case is still unsolved. And I do want to give a shout out to Kelsey German, who responded back to me on Twitter. Her and I had a short conversation about being patient and everything like that. I was saying how it sucks and how it's horrible, and she agreed 1000%. She was really awesome because she has a lot of followers. A lot of people hit her up. And she took the time out of her day or night and responded back to me. So I want to give a shout out to Kelsey. Thank you so much for responding to me on Twitter. And, Bad Habits family is still supporting this case, and we're never going to let it down. If the case got solved today, we're not going to get over it. We're never going to let this case go away, But I do know after this case gets solved, all of us united will move on to another case and help solve that one together as well. Now, I always say this is not a true crime channel, and we do talk about a lot of true crime stuff on this channel, but it's not a true crime channel. But we are going to be talking a lot about Delphi because, like I said a million times, this case has bothered me for years and it won't go away. Literally, I'm constantly thinking about Delphi, and I really don't know why. There's so many crimes like this that's unsolved, but there's something about Delphi that just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you. And I don't know if it's, not enough information about the case or the lack of suspects or what. I really don't know. Or knowing that sicko bastard is out there on the streets today. I keep getting a lot of emails. What do I think about the Ron Logan situation? And I know at first I did think Ron Logan was definitely a prime suspect. I think that he was Bridge Guy. I thought that for a little while. And so did my queen. We were like, man, you know, it was his property. You know, he has a history of arrests. He lied to the cops. But they damn sure had his DNA. But I will say this. Now with the FBI on the case, there should be more support when it comes to this DNA. The reason why I say that is because in the late 70s, early 80s, a woman out here in Las Vegas named Kim Bryant was murdered. She actually lived in my neighborhood and went to the same high school I did. Now, I did not know her. You know, I wasn't born until 88, but she actually lived in the same neighborhood. Like, actually, she lived in the house that my best friend ended up living when we were kids. So she ended up murdered. Okay, and the last time they saw her was across the street from Western High School. Now, back then, Vegas was extremely small. Okay, let me tell you that. There was only about 7, 8 high schools. It was real small. Jones, if you guys are familiar with Vegas, Jones and Cheyenne was like the farthest it went out. It was just tiny compared to the way it is today. Now, she was across the street at Dairy Queen at Western High School. She just got out of school, right? Her and her best friend went to the Dairy Queen, which all the high school kids did for the longest I can remember. They recently shut the Dairy Queen down about 2 years ago. Even when I went there, we went to the Dairy Queen all the time. Now, all of a sudden, her best friend's mom shows up to pick him up. She got on the payphone, Kim Bryant did, and called her boyfriend, and she told her friend's mom she does not need a ride. Her boyfriend will be there shortly. About 10 minutes goes by and the boyfriend shows up, and Kim Bryant is nowhere to be found. They ended up finding her backpack actually in the middle of the road. Now, remind you, Decatur is a very, very public street, especially right across the street from that high school. It's always crowded. Even back then, it was very busy, you know, so things just didn't add up. She vanished. They found her backpack on Charleston and Decatur about half a mile down the road. And that was it. 42 years later, or 41 years, I don't know, something like that. Years later, time goes by. Now, last year, I was actually about to look into this case. We were looking at unsolved cases out here in Vegas before we were talking about the Delphi. And we were just like, oh, we'll look into it, but it's going to be hard because the case is so old. About a month later, come to find out, the police had to use some different kind of DNA that was funded through a big-time millionaire who helped fund the case. Basically, they could run DNA, but for some reason, there's more funding to get involved to run different kinds of DNA, I guess, or different ways to run DNA. I don't know. But apparently, there was more funds available, and some guy funded the police department to run more DNA tests. Come to find out, they found out who killed Kim Bryant. And he actually died in 1993. And he was actually arrested for sexually assaulting, kidnapping 3 other women in Vegas in that time. And it's crazy. He ended up dead in 1993. They solved the case after all these years because of the DNA they were able to use. Now, with the FBI involved with the Delphi case, I'm not sure how much budget or what is going into this case. I would assume a lot, but then again, Delphi, Indiana is a very small town. I'm sure they're limited on so many things. No matter how popular the case is, maybe they're not able to use so much DNA. Now with the FBI involved, they could be using DNA for all sorts of things, right? I honestly thought the case would have been solved by now, especially with the feds involved, and I'm really disappointed that it's not. I am not gonna lie. This guy did not wake up one morning and say, I am going to go kill whoever. This was actually planned. This was motive. Well, I wouldn't say motive. This was time consuming. This guy thought this out. He knew where to take her or take them both. You know, I honestly believe that Libby was the only target at first. I don't think Bridge Guy even knew that Abby was going to be there until he saw them together. Okay, the catfishing theory. Okay, everyone's talking about that right now, especially when, you know, the Klein thing came out and Anthony shots. For the longest time, I was like, there's no way. There's no way the girls were catfish. There's no way. Now I'm getting smacked in the mouth because I truly believe the girls were catfished. Do I think Bridge Guy was thinking about killing Libby for some time? Yes. I would say this was weeks, maybe in months in advance. I think he planned on kidnapping her or raping her or just killing her because the girls were not raped, right? That's what I was told, that the girls were not sexually assaulted. They were not physically raped by a human being. That's what I was told. It doesn't mean they were abused or sexually abused in any other kind of way. Then I was told the killer left 3 different signatures behind. One of them was a religious signature. A couple months ago, I was watching Real Chill Real Chill on his show, and I don't know who said what or who said it or what brought it up, but apparently one of the religious signatures left behind is that the girls' feet were washed, that the killer actually washed their feet. Then I recently found out that the bodies were staged. Okay, now I'm trying to think of the time, right? Now Cheyenne and, what's the other girl's name? Cheyenne and Cheryl. Cheryl and Cheyenne were on the bridge around 2:20, I believe, right? Around the same time the murders were happening, I believe. How did they not hear any screams? And how did they not hear any cries or anyone trying to get away? Were the girls cry? They were definitely crying for sure, but were they quiet? Was he telling them, stay quiet or I'll kill her? Or if you scream, I'll kill her? Was he doing that kind of thing to keep them both quiet? But I'm wondering, how did he kill them both without at least one screaming? Because right when one of them was murdered, the other one would scream, unless one was knocked out or both of them were choked out at the same time, or there's 2 people involved in the case. I really don't believe that there's 2 killers that did this. I think it was one person and he had this planned out. Now, I know I said this on my other videos before that the killer was actually there many hours earlier. I still believe that. I think he was walking that area for hours before the girls were originally dropped off. I believe that he was there at least 10 a.m., maybe even 9 a.m., maybe even 8 a.m., but I believe he was there at least at 10 a.m. Apparently, there was a 16-year-old girl who saw Bridge Guy a little ways away, and at least in that area, she said he looked kind of creepy. He didn't really say nothing, but she saw him walking by. Apparently, at 12:30 p.m., a woman actually walking her dogs by the bridge, ran into Bridge Guy, had a short conversation with him, and then took off. Now, I would say this. If that woman is real and telling the truth, she would know who Ron Logan is. Okay, I don't know if that theory is real. I've been told that by multiple people. I would assume it's real, but there's so many theories and gossip about this case. We just really don't know what's true and what's not sometimes. Now, if that theory is real, she would know for sure who Ron Logan is. So maybe it's not true and maybe he could have been Ron Logan, but I don't know. Now, when the murders did happen, it still gets to me how the old man known as not Camouflage Man. What was his name? I can't think of the old man, what they referred him to. Not Camouflage. I can't think of the name they gave him. Cheyenne and Cheryl and some other witnesses were out there that day. How they did not hear anything. That drives me insane. What did he do to keep them quiet? How did he approach them? How did Abby and Libby know that they were in danger? How long was the recording for sure? I've heard it was over a minute. I heard it was at a minute. I heard it was 45 seconds. I've heard so many different theories. What is it for sure? Okay, the police should be able to at least give us that kind of information. I don't understand why they can't release that. Just say, hey, this is how long the recording was. The murder was not on the recording. And I actually thought for the longest time it was. That's why they wouldn't release it. According to the police, it's not. And that the only time you hear Bridge Guy's voice is when he says, guys, down the hill. That drives me nuts. Every time I hear that recording, I play it every single day, every day. I have a routine when I go to work and when I come home, what I do at work. I literally hear that recording every day, just trying to like come up with some kind of idea. Do I think Ron Logan killed Abby and Libby? I would say no at this point. I know a lot of people disagree with that, which is fine. It's cool. I understand. Everyone has their own theories. Right now, I still want to say Tony Klein, Keegan Klein's father. He, to me, is the prime suspect, number one in my eyes as of right now. I mean, we don't know for sure, but definitely he is somebody I am looking at big time. Well, who I would think big time. I know he hasn't really talked to the cops. I don't even know if the cops talked to him at all. I mean, has he given up DNA? Has he given up hair samples? I know Keegan has. Now, somebody left a comment on one of my videos saying this, because I was saying, well, if it was Keegan or if it was Tony Klein, they took Keegan's DNA, wouldn't there be some kind of match at all? And somebody told me, well, maybe Tony Klein is not Keegan Klein's biological father. And I was like, wow, I never thought of that. That actually would make sense. That it definitely is a possibility. I don't know if it's his biological father or not. I mean, I don't know. I would like to find out who Keegan Klein's connections out here in Vegas were. So if you guys by chance know who that is, definitely email me at badhabitsking@gmail.com, because I am out here in Vegas and I would like to know who Keegan Klein's contacts out here were, just so I can talk to them and see what they think about everything, and maybe they can even come on in for an interview. You never know. So if you guys have any information about that, please let me know. How are you guys feeling about the case so far? Do you think it's going to get solved anytime soon? I know the Murder Sheet podcast is doing everything they can to help us and giving us information, with the Ron Logan search warrant. I wasn't real surprised about that, honestly. I mean, the girls were found on his property. Apparently, there was some clothes missing, and apparently Libby was found with no top clothes, I believe. I believe her top area was covered in branches, but I knew that for a little while now. But it is something that, wow, so let's say he left signatures by arranging the bodies, staging the bodies, washing the girls' feet, and taking Libby's top. That would be 3 signatures. That's what I think, right? Is that 3 signatures? That would be 3 signatures. What kind of fucking sicko would do that? Excuse my language. Sorry, YouTube. I know you guys are going to probably be upset with me for saying that. But it just really pisses me off that some sicko got it in his head to go harm 2 little girls who never harmed a soul. Delphi is such a small town. Nobody in a million years thought this would ever happen. Now, one thing I hate, and I know you guys heard me say this before, is how the police wait so long to actually get worried. Apparently, they didn't think the girls were in any kind of danger. They thought maybe they were lost, or they ran off with some friends, or they got hurt. Nothing to the extent of what really would happen. And look what happened. They were murdered. And not only were they murdered, they suffered. They were tortured. They were scared for their lives. And that's what really gives me the goosebumps. Their last moments. Can you imagine what those girls were going through? And I know there's so many people who dealt with the same thing. But when it comes to kids and stuff, like the school shooting recently, why do you guys harm kids? Why do these sickos want to do something like this? It doesn't make sense to me, and it drives me insane. Abby and Libby were 2 innocent girls who didn't even really start their lives yet. And they were just going for a hike on the bridge or meeting someone on the bridge. That's one thing you got to think about, because for the longest time, I thought they were just going for a hike, normal day. But then it's come to the conclusion that the girls were actually supposed to meet somebody out there that day. Now I hear that Keegan Klein, the Anthony Shots profile, I'll say that, was the last one to communicate with Libby and was supposed to meet her that day at the bridge. Now, Keegan denies this to the bone. He's volunteered his DNA like crazy. Apparently, the cops do have DNA. They would have definitely charged him by now if it was Keegan. I will say that. If it was Keegan Klein, he would be under arrest by now. It's not Keegan. That's what I am going to say right now. I don't believe it's Keegan. With the DNA they have and, everything. But it could be somebody connected to Keegan. It could be a father of Keegan's. It could be a close friend, a cousin, a relative, or maybe Keegan is involved in some nasty shit and he's not alone in it. Maybe he's part of these pedophile rings. We don't know. We don't know. But I really hope it finds out soon, because this case has been going on for over 5 years, guys. 5 years. The clock is ticking. It's ticking. It's ticking. Now, I know Doug Carter says it will get solved before he retires. That's a long time from now. That's not going to happen next week. Okay? Let's get it pumping. Let's get this thing kicked up to gear. I mean, do whatever it takes to find out who killed these 2 girls. We have failed them so far. They did everything they could to help us catch this guy. They recorded him. They got his voice. They got his photo. They got him on video. They got everything they did. Everything to help us catch him. And we still haven't done it. We are failing them. We have got to get this guy. We have got to help solve this case. We got to find out who it is. And somebody knows who it is. Somebody recognizes his voice. Somebody, sees how he walks, his body movement. Somebody knows. It's time to fucking turn him in, if you know, okay? Turn him in. That's going to be it for right now, Kings and Queens. I do apologize that I do get emotional about this case. It's something that I've been talking about for a long time, and this case just really means a lot to me. And I really want justice for the families. Like I said, they'll never have peace. Those 2 little girls, were brutally tortured, murdered. They'll never have peace with that, but at least they'll get some justice. And same with Abby and Libby. They deserve justice. They did everything they could to help us catch this guy. Everything. And one thing I gotta say is, wow. Every time I think about this case, I think, wow. What did Libby think? What did she know? What happened before to make her record him? What happened? Did he approach him beforehand? Did he say something to him at one point? What happened? How did she know to record him? Every time we do videos about Delphi, I ask that question, because there's got to be a reason why she did that. I don't think she just saw a creepy guy out there and was like, I'm going to record him. She knew. They both knew they were being followed by him. They both knew he was dangerous. They both knew something was going to happen. And it wasn't good. That's it right now, Kings and Queens. I love you guys. Do me a favor, hit that like, hit that thumbs up. Go ahead, hit the notification. And if you're not subscribed, do me a favor, show some support, subscribe to the channel. Also check us out on TikTok, Bad Habits Kingdom, Instagram, Bad Habits Kingdom, Facebook, Bad Habits Kingdom. That's it right now, guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.